All right, so we're up to day 193 of going through my old journal. And the quote for today says, "Laughter is an instant vacation. Do you laugh enough or are you too serious?" We'll see what I wrote on this. Describe your sense of humor and what makes you laugh the most. So if you're following along, you might pause and just think about how you might respond to this. And I will read what I wrote. So I said, with the right people, I feel like I laugh a lot. And I said, but it has to be people I'm really comfortable with. I also find myself laughing at social media sometimes, but that seems to come and go. Like, it seems like there are certain days where I find a lot of things extra funny and others where I don't. And yeah, like, I haven't figured this out because there's some days that I could just be, I think some people call it like doom scrolling, where you're just like scrolling through social media. And there's some days that like I'm just scrolling and like every reel that I see, I'm just like, this is so hilarious. And then there's other days that like just nothing like catches my attention. So that's just something I've noticed about myself. And yeah, like I feel like I'm one of those people that's when people meet me, they think I'm pretty serious, maybe because I don't talk a lot, because I am kind of shy whenever I first meet people. And I feel like, you know how people talk about those people that they're like, well, they're quiet, but then when they do say something, like, it comes out of nowhere and it's kind of funny. I think I'm like that type of person. I think people, they view me a certain way when they first meet me, but then really I'm like not serious at all. Like they think I'm kind of this serious person and I'm not really that serious. And I will say random weird things sometimes, and I'm pretty sarcastic, I think, most of the time too. I said overall, I don't know, overall I think I'm able to straddle the line between being serious and having fun pretty well. I've been told I'm surprisingly silly for someone who studies and likes to learn about so many depressing topics. My roommate has brought this up lately. He's like, I'll be watching the stupidest stuff and then you'll be walking around cleaning the house. And there's been like some posts on social media where they'll make fun of women, that you could be watching these like true crime things and hearing these just like terrible things, but then they're just like, that's just what they like to do. And I'm not necessarily on like true crime. Mine's more like things about like the crisis of the world that's coming. You know, I've sprinkled it in here. You know, I do worry about like humanity and the future and, you know, all of the things that are going on. And so yeah, and I think my TikTok has picked up on that because it seems like all of the posts are talking about issues with like labor and people losing their housing and people losing their jobs and, you know, like all of this type of stuff that's kind of depressing to think about. Anyway, but yeah, I can be like listening to that and then just switch to talking about something really ridiculous, you know. I said, but I think in order to handle learning and knowing about the dark realities of the world, you have to be able to shut that part out and enjoy the good things from time to time. Otherwise, you become jaded, cynical, grumpy, stressed, anxious, and unhappy. I said, I've definitely had time where I've let the dark things take over. Yeah, where you just like, you hear about all this stuff and it's just kind of like, just weighs on you, like, oh my gosh, there's all this bad stuff going on in the world, and like you feel kind of helpless to fix it, you know, or whatever. And I said, well, I think it's good to be realistic about the world and how some people are forced to live and how unfair many of our systems are. It's not good for anyone to be stuck in despair. So yeah, I feel like I was gonna say something else while I was reading that. Okay, yeah, where I talked about it's good to be realistic. I do have this conflict. You know, they say, like, is it better to be... There's a couple of ways that people phrase this, but it's like, you know, would you rather just be oblivious to like all the things and just kind of living in your own little dream world that everything's good, and not know, like, not think too much about the realities of the world? And I feel like I was like that when I was younger. I was just so focused on like, okay, here's the next step I'm gonna study, and just not really be thinking about the people or the world around me too much. um what do they say, like, you know, when you wake up to things, like you can't go back to sleep or something like that. And you know, a part of me does wish I could be just like naive and just not worried about all of these big things that are going on. But on the other hand, like, I like to be informed, you know, because I think some of the people that are just, you know, they say like, oh, well, don't watch politics, don't watch the news, that just will bring you down or whatever. But I think it's good to be informed, because I think in some cases people can be blindsided by things, if they're not just kind of like vaguely keeping up with it. And so that's why I said, like, I think it's good to be realistic and understand that these things are going on, but then also try to do it in a way that it just doesn't like weigh you down and make you feel really kind of like depressed about everything. So yeah, I definitely do have times where I laugh. Like, there's times with my roommate, like, we just laugh about the stupidest stuff, and we just like have a good time together. But then there's other times where we will just start talking about really serious things. And so I think with us, there's like a really good mix of the two. But yeah, there's sometimes that I do feel like I get a little like too into it, and there's certain times that I feel like I just want to, there's times that I want to watch like documentaries and things like that where I'm learning about things, and then there's other times where I'm like, I just want to turn my brain off, and I just want to be distracted and taken to like some other world, you know. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in like fantasy and video games and things like that, because I think it takes them away from like the reality. And I wish that I had something that was like consistent like that. I think I've mentioned this before, like, I wish there was just like, some people have this like go-to like TV series that they can just turn it on at any time and watch it over and over again and just get immersed in it. And I don't have that. Like, I wish that I had something that I knew that I could go to consistently whenever I do want to like turn off the bad things. Like, I wish there was like a comedy movie that I could just watch over and over again. But I'm the type of person, I can't watch movies over and over again, because if I already know what's happening, like, I don't enjoy it really like the second or third time. That's getting a little bit off track, but I guess it goes along with like the laughing or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. That's what I have for that day. I will be back tomorrow with day 194.